north tower was struck.
And he was in front of, near the wadi, like entering the wadi.
So he was.
Well, then it had to be from some kind of an explosive effect.
Normally, the way it works is if you have a family member that's murdered, you call the police, and the police do an investigation, and you trust the authorities to be thorough, to care, and to want to get to the truth. And you don't have to go petition. It's not the proper role that citizens should have to take as to force the government to do an investigation, but apparently that is what's required. Another day.
Hey, come.
Remains. It's out of the 2,600 odd who died at the World Trade Center. You know, there's 22,000 fragments.
Medical examiner personnel were initially caught off guard by the degree of destruction and fragmentation of the recovered human remains.
5,000 of those 22,000 fragments are smaller than an inch. It's 1,100 and something people have not been identified. That's a huge, you can't even fathom. Geoff's remains, no more than 2-3% of his body. It's actually the last remain, that his shoulder blade, that was identified in May 2013. This fragment that's still in New York was actually given a location, and Geoff's remains were found in grid K12. It's just south of the North Tower. It's between 18 and 41 metres away from the South Tower. Okay, it's not the kind of 200 or 300 metres distance that some remains were found. There's a horrendous map that I think the fire brigade prepared, and they tag whether it's a civilian, firefighter, etc. But there is one that just tags human remains, and it's awful. You've got the two footprints of the towers, and there's just this huge spread of remains that were once people. Okay, we know the steel beams were propelled out with huge forces, but the actual physical stuff that I care about, people and my brother, were ejected outside of the footprints. And it's so unpleasant thinking about it, but I've since read a lot that has been published about the search to try and identify people, is this concept of commingling.
The explosive force that blew over fire trucks and peeled stone facades from buildings also disintegrated human bodies, turning bones into flying shrapnel, the tidal wave of debris that carried human remains blocks away, depositing them, in some cases, on top of buildings, also fused soft tissue into bone fragments.
And that basically means the impact of the force of the explosion, not just the pancake collapse, whatever, has actually mingled remains into my brother. And so the only explanation she could give me was they couldn't get a clear single DNA match in those remains. So I just got this horrible vision of other people's remains being removed from my brother's face. It was just,
That's not going to happen from crushing. A building collapses and 2 or more people are crushed. I can't envision a situation in which the soft tissue of one victim is hurled with such force as to become embedded into, attached to a bony fragment of another victim. I can't envision that.
And one of the things I always pondered about is, okay, there's always some people nothing found at all, but you also had fairly large parts of people being found. I mean, there was one guy at the inquest, same floor as my brother, 86% of his body was found. I'm not going to say it was, but he was one of the 2 family members that actually bothered attending, and there you go. But he's just there going, I don't understand why, because everyone kept being read out, small fragments, small this, 2%, and he's sitting there going, how? And for me, the unpleasant conclusion I've drawn is its proximity to explosives. So if you were very close to the explosives, there's not a lot left of you. That's something I've always thought about. That's quite dark topic, or thought to have even.
This is a strange situation. I hope that the architects and engineers and others who have studied this horrible tragedy and who have expressed their opinions will be given the opportunity to testify in public. I hope that happens, and I'm amazed that it has not yet happened.
How about